My name is Yumi. I'm from Italy and I'm a pianist. I'm studying at the Music University Frederick Chopin in Warsaw, and I live in Poland since 2 years. I came to Poland mainly because of my piano professor. I met him in a masterclass a few years ago and I really liked his way of teaching, so I decided to study with him and I came here. But also because I didn't know much about Poland before coming here and I thought it would be a good experience to discover it. I really like Polish cuisine, and especially I love the juxtaposition of sweet and bitter, like ananas and honey with meat, like with chicken, for example, or jam with cheese. But sometimes for me it's a bit too heavy. Actually, I can't eat Polish food for more than 2-3 days in a row because it's mainly based on meat, potatoes, cream, which are a bit too heavy on a long term for me. And this is also because Italian cuisine is a bit lighter. There are much more fresh vegetables in it, and I also miss some variety in Polish cuisine. In Italy, we have so many different recipes for each part of the meal, from starters to desserts. And yeah, I found it a bit not too various. In Italy, pizza, of course, is also very, very popular, but it's also a bit different comparing to the pizza that you can find here in Poland. And yeah, it's a bit lighter. Very often the pasta is thinner than here in Poland. And the sauces are also lighter with more vegetables and tomato sauce mainly. But it's also possible to find very good pizza here in Poland because there are so many Italian restaurants that I'm not missing it too much. I find Polish men very tall, for sure much taller than the average of Italian men. And they're also quite good looking. I love the fact that most people here have light-colored eyes, which is not really common in Italy, like blue or green. I also really like the fact that they don't care too much about the way they look, because in Italy very often Italian men are so keen on their outfit and their hairstyle, and I find it weird sometimes that they care more than girls. But here Polish men seem to be more easygoing and natural from this point of view. But I also find Polish men quite sexist. I don't really appreciate all this gallantry thing when the girl has to go first or the man has to help the girl to put on her coat, and especially that the man has to pay all the time. It happened a few times to me that I wanted to pay a drink for a friend and he would get offended, and actually that was very offensive for me. And I also had a lot of discussions with my friends about the fact that women should not have a career because they are weak or too emotional. And I actually found it shocking because in Italy, even though it's not the best country for gender equality, nobody would ever dream to state something like that. But I can see that here it's a bit eradicated as an idea. The main thing I love about Poland is safety. It's possible to come back home at night alone as a girl by night bus without really ending up in dangerous situations. And I very often come back late at night, and I've never felt unsafe or uncomfortable. And I think it's really great because in Italy, in big towns like Rome or Milan, if you're alone and you're a girl or even a boy, sometimes you can really risk your life at certain hours and in certain places. And here you just feel so safe. You can come back home drunk and wander for 2-3 hours trying to reach your home without really anything wrong to happen. And I also love that public transport is extremely punctual here. In Italy, most of the times at bus stops, you don't even have the timetable. You're just standing there waiting for a bus to come. But here everything is really, really accurate, and the connections are really good. What I don't like about Poland is the way people in restaurants or public offices very often manage to be really not nice. That's because in Italy we have this kind of attitude or culture that you just try to be as nice as possible, and especially in restaurants or cafes, people just smile at you, are very polite and try to be nice. But very often here I ended up in situations where the waiter or the waitress was actually quite nasty and really rude to me, especially if you don't really speak Polish. That can be really unpleasant. In Italy, we have this stereotype of Polish people being very Catholic and drinking a lot of vodka, which I find pretty true. But also we have this kind of idea of a Polish person that's quite cold and not very open, which actually I discovered to be the opposite. Most of the people I've met here are really friendly and hospitable, and they really helped me to integrate in this new country. We also associate very often Polish people with workers or carers, because that's the field they specialize in, let's say in Italy. And we also think that Polish people are very honest and good-hearted, and I definitely agree with it. Oh, well, of course, I knew Frederick Chopin before coming here, the patron of my university, and I think he's one of the most famous Polish person in the world, even though sometimes people don't know that he's Polish and think he's French. And then, of course, I knew Jan Paweł II and Marie Skłodowska-Curie and Mikołaj Kopernik, Kapuściński, Gombrowicz, and yeah, more or less that's it. Saluto tutti i telespettatori di Wirtualna Polska. Pozdrawiam wszystkich internautów Wirtualnej Polski. Ciao!